Michelle and Natalie of Force of Light Entertainment. And if you enjoy movie and TV content, then go ahead and subscribe to our channel because that's what we're all about. And go ahead and like the video. But we wanted to do, there's so much on Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu and all the many different streaming sites. You can shows can kind of get to the point where it's hard to figure out what you want to watch because there's so many options and they're not really advertised that well necessarily. So we wanted,
or maybe they don't get a lot of hype.
Yes, they just kind of get lost in the shuffle because there's so many at this point. So from time to time, we would like to come with just a quick recommendation from a streaming site. And today we are going to be giving you a recommendation from Netflix. And our Netflix recommendation today is Halt and Catch Fire, which, Natalie, you were actually the one who recommended this show to me.
I was, because as Michelle knows, I have an endless plethora of amazing shows to offer to her.
She really does think this about herself, by the way. She really does.
A lot of good stuff comes from right here. Yes, and Michelle mentioned it is on Netflix. It was originally an AMC show.
Yes, it came out. It started in 2014 and wrapped up in 2017. There are 4 seasons of the show. Yes, and it, in many ways, I think you were drawn to it because you were recommended it after you watched Mad Men, I believe.
Yes, same network that put it out, and maybe it also a period piece. Now this is set, Halt and Catch Fire is set in the 80s, and then towards the end, the early to mid 90s.
Which is fun because 80s is very in right now, but then also 90s. There's starting to be a lot of people that want kind of that 90s vibe.
Oh, for sure.
So if you like the 80s or 90s, then I think you could, and especially if you liked Mad Men, you'll probably like this. But I don't want to just say if you like Mad Men because they are very different.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I will say they're totally different shows.
Yes, very much. I think the most that they kind of are similar is season 1. There's kind of some similarities because the show begins with, the show centers around 4 main characters, and the characters are Joe McMillan, Cameron Howe, Donna Clark, and Gordon Clark. And what it is, it starts in 1983, and it's right as laptops are being made and the computers are really starting to become a big thing.
Yeah, at-home computers.
Yes, at-home computers and stuff. So it's very technology-oriented, and that's what the show becomes about. They keep each season, they kind of continuing to progress technology as it was literally progressing during this time in real life. And in the first season, it does more kind of focus around Joe, Gordon, and Cameron. And that's where, because Joe is you kind of mentioned kind of like a Steve Jobs-esque type personality.
Yeah, I feel like they definitely kind of take him in that direction as the show goes on.
Yes, and it's because it kind of centers around Joe for the most part in the season 1. That's where there's kind of the Mad Men, kind of this damaged man, kind of like Don Draper-esque, that kind of that vibe.
But like an excellent salesperson.
Yes. Like very good at his job, but kind of a messed up individual.
Like really just like a magnet to people. Like his salesman skills for the tech world are kind of unrivaled.
Yes, they truly are. And he meets this he would be an engineer, I believe, in Gordon.
Yes.
And Cameron. And they begin, Joe wants to get them so they can build a fast laptop for people to buy, I think at business at first. It wasn't really a home laptop at this point in 83. And that's kind of how the show begins. And each season, what I absolutely grew to love, and I will say this, Natalie first recommended me this show, and I watched about 4 episodes and couldn't really get into it for some reason.
And that's what I will say too. Don't even the whole first season. I mean, I hate to say that.
It's the worst season.
It's the worst season. But you got to kind of hang in there, and I don't think you'll regret it.
No, but then I was like, you know what? It was a couple months later. I was like, let me give that another try. And that time, for whatever reason, I was immediately into it from the get-go of the show. And the season, I'd say by about mid-season 1, it begins to get truly interesting. And like I said, season 1 is my least favorite season because
But I do think it's kind of, while it's not as good as the other seasons,
it's still good.
I think it's laying groundwork for the show, and it still has its place, you know. But we're just saying, just hang on, don't
Yes,
give up.
it gets
if
better.
you start season 1.
And they definitely found what I love about this show and what makes this show stand out, in my opinion, from other shows is so often with shows, they don't like to change things. We like things familiar. But this show constantly changes, and they're actually echoing what they're dealing with.
Right.
As quickly as technology this period of time was changing, the show keeps evolving. And that's what's so unique and refreshing about this show is I've never seen a show it's like when I think, oh, this is what I want, they don't give it to me, and yet what they give me, I enjoy. So it's
You're
just
like, I liked it even more.
Yeah, they just kind of keep, and I will say this, the characters, those 4 main characters, they all at times, there's going to be times where you're like, man, I don't like this character, or man, that's a really crummy thing that person did.
But I think, and I love stuff like that.
Yes.
Like, I love more true to life, you know, shows, acting, movies, whatever. Like, I love that kind of thing. And this show has such great, which is a true love of mine, like character development.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. And that's what I was going to say. You can feel that way sometimes, and then you still love these characters and grow to love these characters. So that's what
most humans are that way, and that's more realistic.
Yes, and really all 4 of the main characters are very hard-headed, and that's where some of those problems come in. Like, they'll butt heads a lot. And as much as I say things change, there are 2 things that remain the same in the show in many ways, and that is by kind of season 2 begins, and I love season 2. Season 2 through 4 were just fantastic to me.
Yeah.
Season 1 was good. Season 2 through 4 were just great. But they truly, the show kind of shifts a little, and all of a sudden the heartbeat of the show is this female relationship between Cameron and Donna, and they are 2 incredibly different females. But yet their friendship and their bond is truly the heartbeat of the show and very touching.
It is.
But yet, while I say that, you gentlemen, the other 2 main characters are men,
males,
male. So there's still enough for men that I think men would enjoy the show too. So
I think this is totally, or like if you're a couple looking for a new show, I think, you know, both the male and female would very much enjoy the show. And I will say, while, you know, it might be, if you do enjoy tech stuff and history of computers, which, believe it or not, was a little interesting to me, I guess. Like, just stuff that, you know, I'd heard it said, like, about the show, you know, things that we have every day or maybe take for granted today. Like, there's a scene on the show, I think Joe McMillan is pitching, we're going to make an at-home computer, or no, it was a portable computer, you know, so a laptop, basically, no more than 15 pounds.
Yes,
you know?
yes, I remember that.
And they laughed at him, you know, because, like, it's just, I think we can't imagine now, like, what it was like in the 80s trying to come up with these geniuses behind coming up with these things that are so, you know, commonplace to us today. And, you know, Michelle and I being 90s kids, we grew up with computers, you know, so, and a lot of us did. So.
But they were big computers in the 90s.
So I think definitely if you're a baby boomer or, you know, something like that, you would probably kind of watch this happen. You would find it interesting. But also, like, if you were like us and I think you'd still find it interesting. But like Michelle said, and, you know, my sales pitch for this show is, yes, while that stuff is great, the true heart of the show is the
drama.
It's a drama. You know, their personal journeys, the character building, that's what really makes the show great. And the 2 together make it awesome.
Yes, and besides those 2 being the heartbeat, their friendship, which it's a joy to watch their friendship. Like, you truly enjoy this because they're so polar opposite. So you really, and then you enjoy when Joe and Gordon become friends because they're polar opposite as males.
They are.
So that's very fun. But then another thing that is, as the show keeps evolving and changing, though the characters remain, but then also something that is a constant in the show, which I find a little inspiring, honestly, when you're watching it.
There are inspirational things to the show, I think.
Is their love and passion, like, to keep pressing for more. Like, they constantly want the next thing, the next great technological, I can't speak today,
It's okay.
Yes.
But, yeah, they keep pressing on. Like,
Yes.
even when it's like there's been 20 failures or flops or big disappointments, it's kind of goes back to, I mean, in life, they just keep getting back on the horse, and it is kind of inspirational in that way.
But it's their love for what they do that
Right.
is so, like, that it's kind of inspiring, and you just love to keep building something, and that I found really neat watching. And again, it's interesting. This show is only 4 seasons. It begins in '83 and ends somewhere in the '90s. So it moves kind of, the times will jump on you, but yet it works, and you really enjoy the time changes and watching the kind of different things going on as far as in culture in a way behind in the background. So there's just a lot. I really end up enjoying the show, like a lot. Very much enjoyed it and really loved the way it ended.
So I think, yes, me too. I did love the way it ended, and we're keeping this spoiler free, for you all that haven't watched it, which I'm kind of thinking there's probably a lot of people out there that have not watched it. That's kind of why we're bringing this up.
It's kind of a hidden gem on Netflix.
It is. Yeah, but definitely highly recommend. If you haven't watched it, just give it a try. Hang in through that first season. And it was kind of like, to sum it up, this is what I told Michelle, I think, pitching her the show. I was like, at first, it kind of took me a little while to get into it, but by the time I got to the end, I was literally sad it was over.
Yes. And the way you know something ended perfect is when you're kind of
satisfied.
You're satisfied, but yet I want to see them on this next adventure of their life.
Yes.
So, and that's how it was for me. Like, I'm satisfied, but man, I want to see what they're about to do next. So to me, it truly was a very interesting and unique show.
Yes.
But yet I very much enjoyed all the changes because there is the constant of this relationship that's the heartbeat of the show, and then also their love to build and to keep doing the next thing. So that it's just a very...
It is ever-changing, but I think the familiarness that I love about the show is their passion.
Yes, their passion.
It carries on after defeats, and it just keeps going. So do yourself a favor and check it out.
Yes, definitely check out. Again, we'll begin to do more of these, but our first recommendation, a hidden gem on Netflix that we recommend, is AMC's show Halt and Catch Fire.
And awesome theme music, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
You'll start to like that.
Their opening theme, it's one of those, no, I'm not going to skip past this. I love it. It's so 80s and so much fun. So if you're looking for an 80s and then early 90s show that's a very character-driven, fun, I find it fun, but good drama, then we recommend Halt and Catch Fire. So that is it for this episode, but please subscribe and like the episode, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Bye, guys.